If one racetrack can produce a shock result in the Shell Ultra Touring Car Series for 88, it might just be Amaroo Park. The tight, twisting and reverse camber layout is hard on equipment. Some drivers love the Annan Grove Amphitheatre, others hate it with a passion. Yesterday's Park Royal pole shootout was a fascinating contest. Dick Johnson was a short price favourite, but Colin Bond threw out everyone's calculations in the Caltex CXT Sierra. He opened with a blistering 50.84 second lap in the number 4 Ford, inviting Johnson to respond. The Queenslander was in the throes of doing just that when the tail got loose on the Shell rocket ship and looped the machine at the exit to Honda Corner. The mobile BMW team is here this weekend with 3 cars for Peter Brock, Jim Richards and Neil Crompton. Defending champ Jim is the fastest of the trio, while eternal optimist Brocky is still praying for rain to even up the field.
Well, it does look a beautiful day here today, doesn't it? And I think that means that we have to rely on the poor tyre choices by the Sierra fraternity. And I've been walking around the pit saying to them, gee, boys, I reckon you could get through this race on soft tyres, you know. And a few of them are saying, yeah, I reckon I can too. So here's hoping they'll fit them on, and they won't see this interview until after the race begins.
Hoping there is strength in numbers, the Peter Jackson Nissan team is at Amaroo today with a pair of GTSR turbos for George Fury and Glenn Seaton. Seaton will start 8th on the grid and George 10th. They'll have their work cut out as the 3-wheeling Skylines are still not a match for the Sierras at this early stage of their development.
Our car is very heavy. It's got a lot of weight over the front with a big engine, and we've got to run the car like that to make it go around corners.
Yesterday's final qualifying session confirmed Bondi had the trick set up in the Caltex Cosy. He improved his time to stop the clocks at 50.76 seconds and collect his second Park Royal pole for season 88.
We've been developing a motor in our own computer system, which is an Australian system, and we feel it's better and more advanced than the overseas setups. So at long last, it's all starting to come together at the end of the touring car season, but hopefully for the endurance races this down the track.
Johnson has a share of the front row, which still gives him a big advantage. Row 2 is another Sierra get-together with John Bow and Tony Longhurst pair, with Andrew Madecki and Richards on the third line. However, the combined Park Royal NEC Car Star Series appears destined for the laconic Queenslander. Bonus awards totalling $20,000 are at stake, including the NEC car phone, the NEC portable computer, and NEC VHS video camera, making our pole shootout well worthwhile.
We've been sort of very lucky with the NEC Park Royal system, and I'd just like to think that they will continue in other future events, because it really has been something to go for. And not that I'm going to become a lifesaver like Mr. Okamura, but certainly it's a good prize.
Cars on the circuit now for round number 8. The Shell Ultra Australian Touring Car Championship from Sydney's Amaroo Park Raceway before an absolute capacity crowd here this afternoon. Let's take a look the way the field will line up. Pole has gone to Colin Bond in the Caltex CXT Racing Ford Sierra. Sharing the front row, Dick Johnson in the Shell Sierra. Row 2 made up of John Bow in car number 18 and Tony Longhurst in the Freeport Motorsport Sierra. From position 5 is car 6 Andrew Madecki in the Castrol Motocross Sierra. From 6, Jimmy Richards in the Mobile 1 Racing Team BMW. From 7 is 11, Larry Perkins in the Holden Commodore. From 8.15, Glenn Seaton, the Peter Jackson Nissan Skyline. From 9 is 05, Peter Brock in the Mobile 1 Racing Team BMW. From 10.30, Georgie Fury. From 11, Gary Scott in the Starion. Starting out at position 12 is car 9, Alan Moffat, the ANZ Sierra. From 13.7, Neil Crompton in the Mobile 1 BMW. From 14.39, Trevor Ashby in the Lansdale Smash Repairs Commodore. From 15.8, Andrew Bagnall in the Oxo Sierra. 16.47, Brian Callahan's Commodore. From 17 is 48, Wayne Park in a Commodore. From 18, car 20, Terry Finnegan in another Commodore. Out of position 19, Murray Carter in the Netcom Nissan. From 20 is Gerald Kay in the Jag Parts Racing Commodore. Out of 21.29 is John Faulkner in the Toyota Corolla. From 22.32, Drew Price. From position number 23, 79, Mark Duquette in a Toyota Sprinter. From 24.51, Dennis Rogers in a Toyota Sprinter. And that just about rounds out the field for round 8 today of the Australian Touring Car Championship at Sydney's Amaroo Park.
You didn't even pause for breath.
I didn't. Be there. Car number 4, Colin Bond in the Caltex CXT Sierra. Pole position for the Shell Series penultimate round. We're 10 seconds off the start. Racing, Dick Johnson wins the start convincingly. Bond goes with him. Longhurst, like a bolt out of the blue, comes up the the outside and quickly gathers in Johnson. Moffat also away quickly, and there goes Andrew Madecki just charging at them at the top of the hill. They'll come down into the loop for the first time with Dick Johnson leading. Second spot held down by Longhurst. Then back on the inside is Bagnall. Caught wide that time, Jim Richards. And John Bow trying to get through on the inside. They are Leinster, not the best start from Colin Bond. In fact, he's gone back through the pack, and the touch of cars back behind them. They all come down through this corner and head down to the left-hander at Mazda.
Colin Bond really lost out badly going up the hill the first time, but has been shuffled back into 6th position.
It's the Dick Johnson show, folks, heading down to the lake corner for the first time. Out of the Park Royal Parramatta turn, and Johnson will be in front. Car number 17, Tony Longhurst, though, a good start in the Freeport Motorsport Sierra. He runs in second, and a lightning start from Andrew Madecki as well. They complete the first of 70 laps. There's only 69 to go.
Shell cars running first and fourth, sandwiched in between them. We've got Longhurst and Madecki. Colin Bond slotting into 6th position. Jim Richards also made a great start and is just in behind the swag of Sierras at the head of the field.
Tell you what, that's pretty heady stuff from John Bowden. Madecki was in a bit of strife all by himself, and I tell you, Bowden didn't give him a helping hand.
John's a bit pumped up. He did a great time in the warm-up this morning on full tanks and race tyres. Somebody's locked up a brake going into Honda. Yes, he was only a half a second off the pole time, and he's very confident today.
Well, Johnson will lead it coming out of the lake corner yet again, but I'll tell you what, Tony Longhurst, he's not dropping him off in the run up the straight here. Hurst is quite a burst out of that turn, and he is giving it everything. Johnson, though, in front, running comfortably to the top of Nissan Skyline. Yet again for the right-hand drop at Dunlop Loop. There's Gerald Kay and the Jag Parts Commodore 24. The first visitor to the pits, and that spells trouble.
Another car to lose out in the early stages was Larry Perkins in the Commodore. Started from a 7th position on the grid and has already dropped a couple of spots.
Larry would be running the hardest possible Dunlops on the Commodore, and I guess we can see him dropping back a little at the start, but hopefully his tyres will last out and he'll be there at the end. That's the way he would figure it.
Yeah, he pulled them off a steamroller in the car park. There's John Bow, car number 18. Back behind him is Andrew Madecki, then Colin Bond, who made an absolute shocker of a start. But don't take it out on Colin. He's not the best starter in the world anyway. He's the first to admit it. Longhurst, then John Bow. Right behind Bow goes Madecki, then Colin Bond. Pole sitter for this race in the Caltech Sierra. How close do they go to the wall? Jimmy Richards is the next one back behind him. Then Glenn Seaton in the Peter Jackson Nissan Skyline. The big interest in this race is whether or not the drivers press their car so hard in the opening 20 or 30 laps that they're going to be completely out of tyres. So those who are running a far more conservative setup might well come into play late in this race. Or whether or not any driver is prepared to run soft compound tyres, a light fuel load, and bank on a very quick pit stop.
It'll be difficult to bank on a very good pit stop here. The confines of the pit area quite tight. And you can imagine just about lose a lap, I'd reckon, to come in and take on tyres and a bit of gas.
I noticed, like, you tried to pin Colin Bond down on that score. He didn't actually give you a straight answer, did he?
No, actually, he was thinking about doing it on Friday, changed his mind yesterday when he had pole. This Larry Perkins, the Holden Special Vehicles Commodore.
Fresh from a great 4th at Le Mans last weekend. Fantastic effort.
Right behind him, of course, comes Astro Boy himself, Peter Brock, in the Mobil 1 BMW.
3 mobile BMs for the first time this year in the Touring Car Championship. And 12 months, it's eternity in motorsport. BMs 1 and 2 in this corresponding race of 87.
Well, if you'd like to perhaps recall back a little later in today's telecast just exactly where Brock is running in relation to Perkins at this stage, we'll maybe recap that in about 20 or 30 laps time and just see how a very good handling small car will always outrun a big car, particularly when tyres are in play. There's the skid-lid kid, 7's own Neil Crompton, a legend in his own lunchtime, and the Mobil 7 car, doing a good job too.
That's one of the original JPS BMWs, been lying in a shed for a while. They've pulled it out, given it a haircut and a shave, put some Mobil sign writing on it, and it's now up to spec. It's exactly the same as the other 2 cars.
That's Glenn Seaton, just up ahead of Crompton, getting a bit taily too in the number 15 Peter Jackson Nissan.
And Trevor Ashby's doing a good job.
He is, isn't he?
And Alan Moffat sitting right in behind them in the ANZ Banking Sierra. Now Ashby is a dab hand round Amaroo Park Raceway, can coax the best out of a Commodore. Very, very competitive young man. Once again through this corner, we'll see if Alan Moffat can get up and race with Ashby. Moffat was fairly confident of his chances here today, finishing in the top 3, despite, we would say, a poor qualifying lap yesterday. But then again, he was balked just about every time he went for a flyer. Beautiful speed shot coming out of the late turn across the start-finishing line. There's Neil Crompton, car number 7. Ashby sits behind him, and here's the Canadian Mountie making a run here in the ANZ Special. He's on the wrong side of Ashby there, I'll tell you.
I think that's Callahan lurking one car back.
And well, Callahan's all over Alan Moffat as well. You put the blinkers on, son. I don't think it's going to affect Ashby at this stage of the race.
70 laps around here, that'll test the drivers out as much as the cars. It's a circuit that doesn't allow any relaxation anywhere. The straight here is about as crooked as, better not get into analogies, but...
Just don't mention Queensland. Okay, coming out of the corner, here's Moffat working away on Ashby. Ashby will not give way. He's running his own race here at Amaroo today, and Moffat now has the inside opening as they come up the straight. Horsepower should come into play here as Moffat draws door handle to door handle, just squeaks it up on the guardrail and takes Ashby on the way up the hill. Callahan is now forced to drop in. That didn't work into his favour. And the next one on Moffat's agenda will be Neil Crompton in car number 7.
Well, they're running 11th and 12th on the track. Crompton and Moffat, I think, is another one you'll find that, barring misfortune, will gradually make his way up through the field here as the race unfolds. That's the way he's been playing it in the last couple of rounds of the Touring Car Championship. It's a pretty good effect too. He's been on the heels of the place getters, or in the place getting, the last couple of starts.
Yes, he likes to bolt on the hardest possible race tyre, and so he doesn't have to worry about conserving the tyres. He can just concentrate on driving, and we'll just see how that unfolds for him today.
The Nissan team running 2 cars here this afternoon for the first time this season. Seaton driving one, George Fury the other. Seaton qualified the better by 2 spots in 8th position, Fury in 10th, but they've reversed that on the track. Fury got off to quite a good start. Seaton started quite slowly.
Okay, the gap between race leader Dick Johnson and second place Tony Longhurst is out to 3.4 seconds. Thank you, Dick, for acknowledging that. He's coming through the field now, putting a lap on some of the slower cars. And then the gap between second place back to John Bower is a further 1.3 seconds. So Bower is still within striking distance of Longhurst. Eric Hyler just keeping us up to date with all that as we take race cam. Dropping down into Dunlop Loop. There's Dick Johnson of Queensland. Would dearly love to win the remaining 2 rounds. Both here and the grand final, of course, at Sydney's Oran Park Raceway on Sunday, July 17, to wrap up the series. What has been a very convincing display for the Shell Sierra team throughout 1988. There's Tony Longhurst of Queensland, this Freeport Motorsport Sierra. And he's being hauled in at the moment by John Bower, who, of course, is Dick Johnson's teammate. Of course, I don't have to say that, you know that already. To the late corner. Be able to measure the gap there now for you. Johnson goes through. Tony Longhurst, and gaining all the time on Longhurst is John Bower of Tasmania in the number 18 Shell Sierra.
They've already run 10 laps of this 70-lap race here at Amaroo Park, round 8 of the Touring Car Championship. Dick Johnson, winner of 5 races in the series so far this year, going for his 6th today, which would be quite an achievement. In fact, only 2 drivers in the history of the Australian Touring Car Championship have done better. Alan Moffat in 1977 and Jim Richards in 1985 won 7 races apiece in the series. Whether or not Dick can equal that, of course, he'd have to win here and also win at Amaroo Park, at Oran Park, to do it. John Bower, his teammate, of course, former Gold Star champion 84, 85, winner of the Australian Sports Car title in 1986, second at Bathurst last year, and second in the series so far this year behind Dick Johnson, and the only man that could possibly beat Dick for the title in 88.
Johnson still opening that gap on Tony Longhurst, 4.47 seconds, and the gap from Longhurst back to John Bower, 1.33. Whether or not Dick is jumping away, or whether in fact Bower is dropping off, and back into the hands of, I should say, Longhurst back to Bow. There's the number 6 car of Andrew Madecki, supported by Castrol and, of course, Motorcraft, running 4th on the racetrack at the moment.
I think Andrew's taken all the signwriting off to underscore his sponsorship plight at the moment. He needs some money to run the rest of the Touring Car Championship Series and into the endurance races. And let's hope he gets it, because he's been a great asset, one of the real chargers of the Touring Car Series this year.
I couldn't agree with you more. One guy who really does deserve a bit of commercial support comes from Port Macquarie, and he's a young driver who, with a few more bob to get some of the really big buck gear running for him, to be up leading a lot of these races.
Didn't he stir them at Bathurst last year?
He certainly did. He promises to do it again. Okay, there's Tony Longhurst.
Bow's getting closer.
It's Bow and Howe as they work the back chute here at Amaroo Park.
Longhurst, of course, is the only driver to have beaten Dick Johnson in touring car racing in the 88 season.
Tony Longhurst, of course, the Freeport Motorsport car. 30 years of age, from the Gold Coast, winner of the 85 Castrol 500, the 86 Amscar Series, the 88 Lakeside Touring Car Round, and currently 4th on 45 points in the series. And there's the gap. No baloney Tony to John Bow, and I think you will find that John Bow will be putting a lot of pressure on young Longhurst, given another half lap, particularly when they work the back part of the course here at Amaroo. They'll drop down into the loop. They're coming up on Murray Carter in the Netcom Nissan.
He'll be gazing wistfully at the two Sierras as they drift on past. Murray has a Ford Sierra under construction in Melbourne and hopes to be in that car, certainly for the endurance races, giving the old Nissan last year's model one of its last outings.
Down to the lake corner, or heading towards it. Longhurst reeling in Murray Carter now. Have to play a bit of pocket pool here as he makes sure he doesn't leave a big gap. He's just going to float it down here on the inside. Gives Murray a bit of racing room. And
John's looking pretty serious now, isn't he?
He is a bit. Whether or not Tony will defend or let Bow go, if he's got a little more oomph, that's
Tony's got problems.
Yeah, he has. He's pulled over.
Longhurst is slowing going up the hill. And that will move Colin Bond and Andrew Madecki up.
Unless he may have... Oh, that's Madecki, yes. Tony's certainly got problems, and that's a shame. Is that a tyre? I'm just...
Can't see from there.
I'm willing it to be a tyre because he'll be back out again, but...
He's still got a fair head of steam up as he heads down to the left-hander at Honda Corner. So a very nice sight for Queensland viewers today of Dick Johnson and John Bow running 1-2. And Tony is already signalling, in case Frank Gardner's eyesight is that good. He's coming into the pits, I would think. He's trying to warn the boys he's on his way. Radio contact would be better, so obviously they're not using that today. There's Colin Bond going through, so he moves up into 4th. As Tony Longhurst comes charging into Amaroo Park's pits. It's like the car park at the Red S.
Gear shift.
Yeah, it looks like that was the indication.
He did that in the BM, I recall, didn't he? Like, came up with the shift in his hand.
There's Tony Longhurst. Mechanics quickly into the car. Meantime, that opens up 2nd, or opens up 3rd and 4th. Freeport Motorsport team under the direction of Frank Gardner going to work.
Well, this 8th round of the championship here at Amaroo may be the longest of the touring car races of the season, but it's not going to be long enough to allow Tony Longhurst to get back into contention regardless of what happens here in the pits. This is already far too long, and back on the track, this is the leader, Dick Johnson, already hauling in the tail enders.
Just put a lap there on Wayne Parks, Commodore.
John Bow now running 2nd, some distance back. So the old Shell 1-2 coming into play again, although there's still a long way to go before they get to the checkered flag. Andrew Madecki in 3rd spot, Colin Bond 4th after coming off pole position. Looked to be his best chance of closing the gap on Johnson in the series points here at his home track at Amaroo, having qualified on pole position but not able to hold the others out at the start. Colin Bond, hasn't won a a round of the Touring Car Championship since 1978.
It's fascinating. He'll win one today if the first three blow up in front of him. The gap, incidentally, from Dick Johnson to John Bowe, 6.64 seconds. Johnson still the race leader from Bowe. Medecky is third, Colin Bond is fourth, and George Fury runs fifth.